The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Big Ben Haslar presiding. We all rise for the Honorable Judge Haslar. Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice. Today we're hearing the case of the People versus Rocky. That's Rocky 5, a 1990 sports drama that finds our hero Rocky the victim of defalcation. That means he lost all of his money to all you non-literate people and is forced to return to the mean streets of Philly to rebuild his life.
For those of you, his pants.
Not that kind of movie. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always in this courtroom, films are going to be considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond the shadow of a reasonable doubt that this film is guilty. Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, you are representing the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. When I was a wee lad, my father took me to the top of the hill near our home and told me to look out and see the great franchises that the light touches. And I saw them. Star Trek, Death Wish, and Rocky. But I also saw an area that was dark. The light did not dare to go there. Papa, I asked, what is there? The Master Chief turned to me and said, there you would find Star Trek 5, Death Wish 5, and Rocky 5, and you must never go there. Well, I thought I knew better. Alas, I should have deferred to my father's wisdom. Rocky 5 suffers from so many deficiencies. Let's go over a few. Stallone's thoughts on it, for one, pointing out his profound disapproval with it. The tone and purpose of the movie being completely muddled and I dare say unfulfilled. And what are we actually seeing on the screen, ladies and gentlemen? We are seeing a complete dearth of technical craftsmanship that has us laughing at the movie, not with it. So, Rocky 5 is going to take a few punches to the head, and it's going to have to retire forever, and it will be found guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. I wonder if Star Wars 5 is in the dark area.
Not that my dad showed. That was the other property down the road.
That would kind of still be Attack of the Clones.
Okay. Appearing on behalf of the defense is Mr. Luke Goozdich. Please present your opening statement.
Now, this is going to be a difficult case. I understand that because the man himself who made the movie does not like it, in fact hates it, and tries to act like it doesn't exist. But I think it's so unfair. I think we're looking at this in such a wrong way. It may be, potentially, I don't agree, a bad Rocky movie, but I do not think this is a bad movie. And I think that's where I'm going to hold the crux of my argument, is that this would hold up as a pretty good sports movie, not a bad sports movie, not a bad boxing film. You should check out a bad boxing film and come back to this and realize how good it is when you look at some of the straight-to-DVD boxing films that I've endured for my love of the genre. I'm going to say that Rocky 5 is a great, I think great, boxing film outside of the Rocky franchise that is about family, father and son, and finding purpose outside of your old career.
Nice. It's just like pizza. Like even a bad one's still pretty good.
Right. How dare you, Your Honor?
I don't know. You should see some of these straight-to-DVD pizzas I've eaten.
The shards are not good.
You're going to get an ulcer with that, Rob. Jesus.
Maybe I like ulcers.
Mr. Schlender, please present your first exhibit.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do believe it's an important exhibit to go over Sly Stallone's feelings about this movie and why they're important. Because sometimes we do see cast and crew or directors try to disown movies, or they say that they don't like them, that they participated in. And sometimes that doesn't always carry water. But what's important is Stallone thinking this is a bad movie and understanding that it's a bad movie led to better movies. It led to Rocky Balboa. It led to Creed 2, possibly Creed 3. Creed 3 might have happened anyway. But my point is, let's look at what Sly actually had to say. I have these audio recordings of him here. Hey, yo, Rocky 5 is a 0. It was bad, and I was definitely not there. He said
indistinguishable.
I know, right? He said that in an interview with one Jonathan Ross. So again, he's saying it's a 0. It was bad. I wasn't there. He's gone on to talk about what his idea for Rocky 5 was. It was this idea of going back to Rocky 1 in a way. But as they say, you can't go home again. And what do we see when he tries to go back? The city's completely different. Rocky's completely different. You can't capture the Rocky 1 magic again just by stealing everything away from Rocky. He's already evolved. He is the final form of Rocky. There's nothing left for him to learn. And I dare say we see him learn nothing in this. If anything, he forgot things due to his massive brain damage. Now, Sylvester Stallone planned to kill Rocky at the end of this, which maybe would have been the better call, because that was kind of the whole point of the movie. Well, it was one of the ideas of the movie. I shouldn't say the whole point. One of the ideas of the movie is that it's not always about fighting until it's about fighting. And then he gets into a big fight at the end. And it's just like, well, geez, man, if you were going to have a street fight and do these absolutely bizarre, weird leg takedown things. And keep in mind, Rocky hasn't been a street fighter. That is to say, the character. He hasn't been a street fighter for years, right? He had been a boxer, and he basically had been a palooka, and then he became world champion. I mean, the fact of the matter is we saw Rocky's growth from Rocky 1. Yes, he loses, but he wins the girl. That's a beautiful love story. Then we get Rocky 2, which is just Rocky 1, but he wins. I love it. Rocky 3, he's got Mr. T showing him what it's important to stay hungry even when you're on top. Rocky 4, now this is what's important about Rocky 4. He gives up being the champ to avenge his friend, to go to the Soviet Union. You can't see it. I'm pointing in the direction of where the Soviet Union used to be.
Oh yeah, over there. Yeah.
And he fights Ivan Drago. Comes back for Rocky 5, should be on top of the world, but as the judge mentioned with the defalcation there, he's got nothing left. And unfortunately, he has nothing left. This movie has nothing.
A question for the Ben's defense can answer this, or whoever knows. Didn't Sylvester Stallone write this movie?
Yes, he did.
He did not direct it.
And he hates it?
He hates it.
It was directed by the director of the original Rocky.
All right. Well, I'd like to hear from the defense. Is this sort of a departure from what we had been seeing in previous films?
Well, yeah, I think when you're looking at this, Rocky 5, you have to see it as a family movie and a father and son story at the core. And we can go in two directions. We can look further into the future. Rocky Balboa, you mentioned, as one that corrects Rocky 5. I think it builds off it and makes it better, and Rocky 5 makes Rocky Balboa better. When you look at the crux of the relationship between Robert and Rocky in Rocky Balboa, one of the most legendary scenes where he's giving him that speech outside the restaurant about how, it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit. That conversation, I feel like, is informed by and is grown out of what you see happen in Rocky 5 between Robert and Rocky in their fractured relationship. So I think it actually improves the past. And if you go back, or it improves the future. And if you go to the past, Rocky 1, Rocky 2, what are those? Those are love stories of him getting together with Adrian, falling in love, starting a family, having Robert in the second film, raising Robert in 3 and 4. And 5 is kind of this pivotal moment where Robert's becoming a teenager. Rocky's having this kind of existential crisis and trying to regain the former glory. And I think it's a perfect evolution of the father figure, right? Where he was the hero. He lived the adventure. He got the girl. He got the championships. And now he's in this back half of his career where he now stuck between stagnation or generativity, where I give back to the next generation, but he's giving back incorrectly when it's with Tommy. And that's where you get this interesting story, to me, play out, where it's like I can mentor this dark version of me with Rocky looking at Tommy, or he can go with his son like he ultimately does at the end. So I think it actually enhances the past and the future of the series.
All right, but there's a few things I'm going to disagree with, but there is an important question. What happened to the robot from 4?
Yes,
It
got
auctioned off, right?
You didn't see them hauling it off in the estate sale? I saw it.
Thank you.
Put a sold sign on itself and slipped away. All right, but now back to the serious matter. You say Rocky saw Tommy as a dark version of himself, but this is not true, because Rocky started off as a dark guy himself. He was a leg breaker for a 2-time low-bit hustler, and in the mean streets of Philly, wearing his leather jacket and punching sides of beef. So he saw a lot of himself in Tommy, of course. So he didn't make the wrong decision. And that's one of the unfortunate things about this movie, is that he wasn't able to control Tommy. He wasn't able to mold him the way Mickey molded him. So now not only is Rocky not able to fight, turns out he's not even a good manager. So that is just doubly depressing. And looking at his relationship with his son, because ostensibly you would think that's what this movie is about. But let's face it, Sage Stallone, R.I.P., he can't act. I mean, I know he's a kid and everything, but this is not convincing dialogue delivery, though I will say he did have the best fight when he beat up the bully. That's probably the best choreographed fight in this whole movie. So what do we have? We just have like such generic teenage rebellion, and then they just paper over it with him doing his magic trick and saying, oh, like, yeah, I like you, you like me, and all that. It's like, come on, give it up. So we don't actually see any earned growth in that relationship. Now, I do agree, like you said, in the next one, Rocky Balboa, their relationship is a little more dynamic, a little more mature, because obviously now the son's grown, but we're not getting any of that, and we're not getting any hints of that in Rocky 5. And then again, because it's all going to come down to the climax here, the Blazing Saddles, that street fight where they fight through 3 different sets, that just undercuts everything that the movie possibly could have been about, if you were even sticking with it that long, because these messages that you're going to try to extract out of this movie, like a non-anesthetized wisdom tooth removal here, it's going to be painful, because it's just not there, man.
It's hard for me to defend or not, because I'm not a good actor. I guess I'm really bad at gauging what is good and bad acting, but people hate the acting in this film. When you look at Tommy Morrison playing Tommy Gunn in this, and Robert being played by Sage Stallone, both of them get attacked. But there is some of the greatest acting when it comes to George Washington Duke. We can't act like that guy's not fantastic. It makes this movie so much more entertaining, right? We love this guy.
He's just doing a caricature of Don King, though. I could do that, but I'd get canceled.
You told you to put the bomb on. I didn't tell you to put the bomb on.
It's important and good for the story and the time period that this came out, which is why this Rocky actually looked at some of the costs of boxing and some of the darker sides. So I appreciate it for that, too.
All right, Mr. Schlender, would you like to move on to your next point?
All right, well, actually, let's stick with the acting for a little bit. I touched on it with Sage, and then thankfully my colleague here touched on it with Tommy Gunn as well. The problem is with the and even like the acting from Sly is not great. And we had glimpses of it, like the first scene where he's sitting in the locker room. He's like, "Oh, my hands can't stop shaking," It's just like, "Oh my god, that was a terrible Slice one." But that's going in now. That's part of my reel. So, like there's glimpses of the old Sly Stallone, like that we would see in some of his better tour de force acting performances, like the original Rocky, like the original Rambo. But unfortunately, he's just fallen so far into caricature for Rocky at this point in his career. Even Mr. T would say, "Hey man, you got to dial it back a bit." So that's one of the unfortunate things in there. And then you also have not only Rocky, not only his son, but you have Paulie being very one note and just tired for Paulie. Like you could just tell, like the actor's just not interested in being there. Now I will say that Adrian is a little better in this one, then, because she's been a little flat since Rocky 1. and her actually saying, no, Rocky, you can't fight because you'll die. It's like, okay, that actually makes sense. But again, like I said, all the criticisms ultimately go to the end of the movie with that ridiculous street fight where he doesn't die, even though Sly wanted him to die. So all the principal players are just not delivering in ways we've seen them deliver, not only in previous Rocky movies, but even as we would know in future Rocky movies. Sly's able to get that Rocky back for Rocky Balboa, for Creed and Creed 2, and possibly even Creed 3, but he's not in Creed 3. He should have been like a Force Ghost in it, just like we got the Mickey Force Ghost in this. Can we talk about how ridiculous that was for a second?
I want to hear about that final fight from the defense, that street fight.
We got a lot to talk about for that final fight, so let's do it.
Yeah, I don't want to be held in contempt of court by bringing up the work print where there's famous work print that came out of this, which is the director's cut, showing how this film could have been before the studio meddling. And in that ending, he refuses the fight, but gets sucker punched and kind of has to fight. I think that is a better ending, but I don't want to be held in contempt of court. We have to go with the ending.
No, it's not contempt, but it is the theatrical release that is on trial.
But it is worth pointing out. No, but see, Luke, I'll say this in your defense. It is worth pointing out those things, that there were better decisions to be made. And what we see are those worst decisions. So that really hurts your case. So I'm glad you brought it up.
So yeah, that is, it's confusing thematically. And I understand as a kid, this is why I rewatched the end fight all the time, because it was cool and it's a fun factor. And of course we got to have Rocky have a street fight, but thematically that decision for him to go out on his own limb and try to fist fight hit Tommy for whatever reason is not super helpful to my case at all. And I will say that ending is like one of the more detrimental parts of it, especially when you cut to like, knock him out, he took my room. That's not helpful.
Oh my God.
These kind of things hurt the case a little bit. But
at least you're honest, man.
It's about,
you got an honest lawyer.
It's the fun and the
it's steel, but it didn't kill anyone. So let's go with that.
Right.
Schlender, did you have? Sorry. Oh, Luke, if you had more.
Yeah, I was just saying it is fun. It is fun and entertaining. It can't be bad if it's fun and entertaining.
Oh, yes, it can. I've got 9 Charlie Bronson movies directed by J. Lee Thompson that prove this. One of which is not Death Wish 5 for all you keeping track at home. Death Wish 4, though.
It's in the dark area.
So Luke, that's one of the things I want to talk about. As fans of the show know, I often talk about conflicting tones that we see in movies, and because that really gets to intentionality. Now, I think we would all argue that there's humor in the Rocky movies, and that's fine. I mean, like we were just talking about the Don King ripoff here. Obviously, a humorous character played for humorous effect. I mean, the press conferences alone, where everyone's yelling, this parole hearing is over. I mean, come on, that was so. What's unfortunate, though, is the stuff we're not supposed to be laughing at that absolutely has us cracking up. Rocky trying to talk to his son. This should be deep and heartfelt, but he mumbles through it so much, you're just laughing. Like, what are you talking about, Rocky? Like, you want a sandwich? I mean, what is this? And then the fight at the end, you're laughing at how ridiculous this is. Like, if you wanted it to be realistic, like this really is the fall of Rocky, it's like Odysseus when he returns, and he has to reclaim his kingdom, like that's not what we see here. Like, this is just sad. He's getting beat up by Tommy. He's beating Tommy up. The cops aren't stopping him. I mean, Tommy fights like 7 different people out of nowhere randomly before he fights Rocky again. I mean, yes, this is entertaining because it's so bad, because you're laughing at it. And this was not made to be laughed at. This was supposed to be a serious meditation, and we could blame the studio for meddling, and that's fine. If it's the studio that made it bad, so be it. That's certainly what Sylvester Stallone thinks. Again, rating it a 0 out of 10. He at least had the decency to give Rocky 4 a 7.5.
Luke, are we not entertained?
Yeah, I mean, this is where my brain holds Rocky 5 is seeing it kind of like a young adult story, where there's a book called The Contender. It's a series of boxing novels that I used to read all the time as a kid, and they were for young adults. They were like for teenagers or preteens, but they kind of touched on serious things like drug addiction and gangs and stuff like that. But it was also an over-the-top kid's book in a lot of ways too. And that's kind of how I see this, where as an adult film, like a drama, you're right. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's not committing enough to be a dark, serious, let's look at the dark side of boxing. And it's not committing to just silly, fun action movie. It's somewhere in between. But I think that in between that I defend is that it is the perfect young adult story. Then, me watching it growing up, with a boxer father, I always resonated with this so heavily, and I always loved this one because it really just made me feel that father and son kind of connection from this lens of youth and it being more fun, like modern mythology rather than like a drama.
Did you like the movie Daredevil out of curiosity?
I did. In fact.
Oh, awesome. Also not guilty in this court. Mr. Schlender.
No, it was guilty.
No, but it got an appeal, and then it was
got
not
appealed.
guilty.
I hate the appeals of justice.
The system doesn't work.
I would like to spend the rest of my time talking about how much I hate doing the appeals of justice, if I may, Your Honor.
No, you may not.
Okay, so back to Rocky V then. All right, so I think I basically said anything. I just really want to just drive home this idea of the purpose of this movie, because that is important, and this is where Sly is saying it failed, and this is why he made Rocky Balboa. And you can't capture the magic of Rocky 1 again, and that is what really stings about Rocky 5. It's almost cynical. It's almost like a charade, really, because Rocky 1 was powerful because Rocky had nothing. And what did Mickey tell him to do? He's like, you do it all in the ring, Rocky. Do it in the ring. We don't do that in Rocky 5. We don't do that at all. We don't honor Mickey's legacy at all. We don't honor any of the things that Rocky stood for in any of the other movies. Look, the champ can't always stay on top, of course. It's one thing to no longer be the king. But let me tell you, some people say, how does it matter that a man falls?
How
but
does
when
it
the
matter
fall,
that a man falls? Oh.
Well, Ben, I'll tell you, when the fall is all that's left, it matters a great deal. Oh. And that was where Rocky V ultimately stumbled. Thank God we got Rocky Balboa in the Creed movies to make up for it. And I'll rest there, Your Honor.
So we can learn to pick ourselves back up again. Luke Goozdich, please present the rest of your exhibits.
So, looking at Rocky V, for me, I think it just has this sad place in history of being a Rocky film. I think without that, we would not be so hard on it. We would not look at it saying it hurt anything, because there is so much tie and so much love to those original films. But I think the way that helps me, the case that I'm going to give, the thing that I hope you see in your hearts today, is that this actually connects to the family and the love story and the idea of building a man and a family. I think that carries through into Rocky V. And I think that it is that Sage Stallone and Sylvester Stallone at the core of this, and bad acting aside or not, we know that they're real father and son. And I think that adds an element of authenticity to this. Just like every Rocky has been somewhat semi-autobiographical for Stallone, I think that he has continued to write in the following films how he has this fractured relationship with his son, and how this pursuit for glory and kind of personal passions has gotten in the way of some of those deeper connections. And I think Rocky V plays with those themes in a fun and entertaining way, and kind of an easily accessible way for a younger audience. But I will acknowledge that it does fall short on being some kind of prestige genre film that would get an Oscar, and they tried with bringing John G. Alvison back. But I do believe that this cannot be a bad film, because when I watch it, I feel something, I'm entertained, I'm having fun, and I still, as bad as it is thematically, cannot tell you how pumped I get when I see him stand up and go, "You knocked him down, why don't you try knocking me down now?" Are we like, this is the greatest thing?
That's not bad. It's not the worst I've heard.
That's the best freaking line ever. I love that, and it gets me hyped.
Excellent Al Pacino.
Mr. Schlender, how do you feel about nepotism?
No, contrary to popular belief, Maynard and I are not brothers or related at all.
Or even
just
friends.
loves me that much.
No.
So my I guess I would respond to that is, unfortunately, we can't have it both ways. We can't look at Rocky 5 in just a vacuum. If this was a standalone movie, it wouldn't make any sense. We wouldn't have any idea who Rocky is, why his family would be important to him, that he's not a bum anymore. So for Rocky 5 to work on any level, we do need the previous Rocky movies. I mean, there's just no two ways about that. And to try to make it more of a prestige picture and to fall short is a failure of intentionality. And I do believe you're right. I do believe they were trying to recapture something that they had lost along the way from Rocky 1. But it was just too late. And obviously what we see on the screen with the late 80s hip-hop as they're walking the mean streets of Philly. I mean, did Philly really look this dilapidated in 1990? I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
At least.
But that's my point. It's just, unfortunately, this film missed on so many different levels. And I love the Rocky series. I really do. Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all great. And honestly, this is true. I had never watched Rocky 5 because I had watched a marathon, and who I was watching with it, shouldn't we watch Rocky 5? And we had just started Reels of Justice. And I said, no, it's inevitable it will end up on Reels. And I want to watch it fresh.
5 years later.
And 5 years later, here we are. Totally worth it.
Mr. Goozdich, did you have any further exhibits?
I guess I would just say that is it. It is the movie that is skipped on every watch. When I bought the pack of these films once, it didn't even come with 5, and I was like,
did it have 6?
The 4K set does not have 5.
It was an empty case, and it says "You're welcome."
It was 1 through 4, and it was so disrespectful. And I was like, "Where's my 5?" It's just, to me, it can't be that bad. I think that it is overblown because of how good the rest of the series is. But to me, this is not a bad film, and I have nothing more to say other than I'm glad that you did finally watch it. Hopefully there's a part of you that got a little bit pumped towards the end of it and thought that was pretty cool, but maybe not. Maybe you did absolutely hate it. Maybe it is a bad film to you, but for me, it's always going to hold a special place in my heart, and I'm always going to get hyped when he says, "It's not by you got this," and goes out and fights Tommy. It's my favorite.
Maybe it's a rights issue why they couldn't get 5 in that set.
Nope.
Ryan says no, and I trust him. All sides have rested. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Schlender, you may begin.
We've had a lot of fun tonight. We didn't even have to ask what we were doing here tonight. That's how open and shut this case was. I spent all day punching a side of beef getting ready for this case. And then I spent...
We were going to do that anyway.
That's true. And then I spent all evening eating that beef to be ready for this fight with my esteemed colleague Luke here over Rocky 5, a movie I know he holds dear, a movie I know he takes seriously, and a movie I know he loves. And that's one of the things that I want to make clear in my closing statement. There are entertaining bad movies out there that we can acknowledge are bad, but we still get something out of that. There are sometimes little nuggets we could pull out of them. I'll point people to our case of Superman 3. We did acknowledge some of the impact Superman 3 would have on the broader Superman mythos, but did acknowledge it was a bad movie. We have to look at the director's interpretation and intentionality. I'll point us to our case of Nothing But Trouble, where it's become in vogue to say Nothing But Trouble is actually a horror movie and it's real scary. But Dan Aykroyd never said that. Dan Aykroyd always said it was a comedy, and so it failed on that. Sylvester Stallone has never changed his tune in all these years on Rocky 5. Think about that for a second. With the barbarians at the gate, it would be now it would be easier than ever before, just like that hack that directed Halloween 3, to say, oh, actually it was all this, and actually Rocky 5 is the best, but you know what? It's not. And Sly Stallone has the integrity to at least admit that. So when you go in that jury room, you know what the right way to vote is. You know this movie is guilty. You know some of it may have entertained you. You may have laughed at it, but you knew those things were bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Mr. Goozdich, please present your closing statement.
I'm going to start by saying it's a great thing that I'm not a lawyer, because that was really convincing. I would like to give him. I would like to agree with a lot of what you said, but
all he does is talk slower, Luke. You can do it too.
But I think Rocky V is a case of tragedy all through and through. It's a tragedy when you look at the cast and some of the early deaths that came from it and the real life stories of Tommy Morrison and Sage Stallone. There's tragedy in the production being so meddled and the story being tainted with weird music that didn't fit and the ending changing for some reason. There's a lot of tragedy here, but the biggest tragedy would be to sit there and say that this is not a worthy viewing when I'm going to sit there and watch all the Rockies. It should not be shunned. It should not be the black sheep. It may be the least of them, but it stands up among one of the greatest boxing films to me because it is still, at the end of the day, a Rocky film speaking to the heart of man, speaking to the heart of being a good father, of being a good person, right? And that's where the moral crux of it was. Tommy didn't have that heart, just like Adrian said. It's the heart when you look at Rocky 1, and Tommy didn't have that. And it so reinforces the lesson of 1, and you see Rocky in a very different part of his journey that you don't typically get to see. And you would, if Rocky Balboa never came out, when this came out, this was the one shot to look at a version of Rocky that was like Mickey. And I cherish that, and I love that. And it's where I'm going to rest my case, is that this is a unique entry that just gets too much hate, and it's a tragedy.
Thank you all. Members of the jury, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, Mr. Maynard Bangs, and Mr. Touch Me and I'll Sue, Ryan Luis Rodriguez.
Worth it.
You have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict. Right this way? You know, at the end of this film, he was more like, Tommy, run, am I right?
Oh.
Two lamps. Okay, guys, what are we thinking? Rob, you said the least during this recording, so I'm going to hear from you first.
I did my best. I didn't hear no bell. Sometimes it was hard to tell which side either of the lawyers were on, because occasionally the prosecutor said some good things about it, like that Adrian's probably at her least annoying in this movie, and I kind of agree with that. So
That's one time a positive thing. She's at her least annoying. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, she's still kind of annoying, but at least now she's like, Rocky, I can't fight. I'm like, she's right now, bro. Like, now she's right. She was wrong 4 other times, but now she is correct.
He just needed to work out and climb Everest again or whatever.
But you know what evens that out is Paulie being an utter piece of shit. He just gets worse every single. But he gets worse every single time. And now he's responsible for Rocky being broke. And he has to play Santa Claus, and he goes, hey, 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 because he doesn't even know how to say, oh. Oh my God, what a piece of shit. And he has a fuck button. We never get to see it. What the hell's going on there?
It was an estate sale. They sold it.
Paulie's definitely not guilty in my book. I loved Paulie. But as far as, the question of, Stallone doesn't like it, do people involved in the production get to ultimately, I take that with a grain of salt, right? Because Shatner hated Star Trek forever. Did that make Star Trek bad? So I don't know that I take it on a case-by-case basis of what they didn't like about it. And especially the fact that he wrote this, well, then it's his own fault.
And I think that because he didn't direct it, that also kind of changes the trajectory of the argument a little bit. He would have had more control in that case. Whereas if he's just the writer.
Yeah, he knows like what it should have been, but it turned out to be something else. Yeah, I can be sympathetic to that.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened.
No, it's not what happened. Luke mentioned some of the positives about this movie, about kind of Rocky as a dad. I saw him as a pretty bad dad figure most of the movie.
He absent-mindedly neglects his son over the course of the film, and it's one of the funniest things in the entire movie. He's like, he'll look at his son and go, I'm so proud of you, man. You're great. And then he'll turn over to Tommy Gunn. So let's go fight. Come on, man.
Right. He clearly loves his son, but he's bad at it, for sure. And maybe that has something to do with the head injury, but that's not the way
he's a bad manager, too. Maybe he's just not meant to be a mentor.
Right. Well, he's only good at fighting, he would say. I know Luke brought up, is it bad if it's entertaining? And I think Schlender definitely countered that. If what's entertaining is how bad it is, then yeah, if it's so good, it's so bad it's good, then it's bad. That's the way we've kind of always leaned down on it. I did like the music. I disagree. It dates it hard, but like they are walking down the streets of Philly, and I think that music could very well have been playing at that time. But Philly is very dilapidated. Even their bells got a crack in it. So, Now, what really makes me mad is at the beginning of this movie, you have this great moment where Rocky doesn't recognize Adrian, and it's actually really powerful. And I'm like, holy crap, is that what Rocky V's going to be out? Holy crap, I'm not
I
ready.
thought the same thing.
Right. I'm like, this is going to be intense. Stallone can really bring drama to this, and it's just a band.
Now's the price. Like, we had so much fun in the first 3, now or 4. Now he pays the price.
Right.
I was ready for that.
And then he's got a second, because he gets his head pounded in 4. Like, this is the CTE is the only result that they could go. And so but they balk. They look into it and they balk. They chicken out, and instead he's going to train someone else, which even then I'm kind of okay. Like the way that Luke had said, now he gets to be Mickey. He gets to pass on the lessons, but not be in the spotlight. But then in the end, he can't handle that. He has to take the spotlight. He has to end up fighting. He doesn't have to fight that guy outside. There's cops there. They shouldn't have been standing around waiting to arrest him at the end. They should have arrested him immediately. Like, break up this fight. Rocky could die. This guy is also
and
really
they were
big
filming
and
it and everything.
Right. So everything about the ending is so insane. So he doesn't even become a good coach because clearly this guy ends up going down the money route. He didn't teach him anything other than how to hit very hard. He did that quite well, but he didn't teach him anything about being a man. And Rocky doesn't realize that that's a failure on himself. It's not just a failure of Tommy Gunn. It's a failure of himself. The movie does not treat it like that. They celebrate it. So this movie had such a chance to be so great, but it went so far afield and decided to just do a really dumb fight on the street. It wasn't too exciting to me. And it really, I think, betrayed what themes it could have probably represented. All right, Ryan.
I'm really glad that Dylan brought up the fact that you can't divorce this from the rest of the series and say it's a good boxing movie if it was not a Rocky movie, because literally it would make no sense if it was not a Rocky movie. You would start in media res and you'd be like, who are these people? What the hell is going on? Who's Rocky? Why do I care?
Build on the previous 4, but yeah, no, that's this one does need to take those into account for sure.
But the amazing thing is that this is the return of John G. Avildsen, who directed the original, one of the great kind of like indie films of all time. And this is only like 4 years after Karate Kid Part 2, which I would argue is almost as good as the first one. And yet there's a deficit of style that Rocky 4 had in spades, and I'm glad that they toned it down a little bit, but it does get kind of monotonous and a little bland. And this has to have the 2 most least plausible press conferences in cinema history, of just everybody just yelling all at once. And first of all, that's not how press conferences work. They don't just let you stand up and start screaming at whoever's talking on the microphone.
I thought it was a Reels of Justice episode.
I've seen some.
But 2 of them in the same film? Really? And I never cast your inexperienced son as your on-screen son. That is just child abuse. That is wrong, because for the longest time, Sage Stallone, who was a good soul for all I could tell, was hounded by this movie. That's why they recast him in Rocky Balboa. Not because he was doing something else, but because he was simply like, no, I'm not doing that again. You can't make me.
Oh, it's Jake Lloyd syndrome there.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the biggest problem for me is George Washington Duke, which I know Luke said is a great character. No, he's the most cartoonish villain in a series that has nothing but cartoonish villains. Like Ivan Drago is a parallel, like a paragon of integrity and logic compared to George Washington Duke, because they could have at least put the Don King hair on him. But they didn't even go that route. He just keeps saying, only in America, only in America. Yeah, I get it. I get who you are. That's great. Wonderful. Anything else? Ben?
You guys took most of the good things, so thanks for that. I'm going to start looking like a jerk now.
You're welcome.
No, this was very jarring, especially after 4, where it's just like so superhero-ish, and then like, yeah, that kind of boomerang all the way back to where we were in the first one. And I love the first one. It's the best, but it is hard to go home again, I think. Dylan said, and you feel it. And what they could have done is him paying that price, like the brain damage, like him not being able to fight more or be a part of his family or anything. That would have been an interesting journey to see, and we don't see that. I don't know how it would have ended, but that would have been an interesting direction to go.
Rocky's death would be an interesting way to end this movie. I gotta say, that would make it at least 15%.
Yeah, like if you had like 5 good years, but then the rest of them are bad. Is it worth it if they were really good years? You could do something there. I don't know, but
But I miss like the small things, like when we learn that he can't read when he's doing the commercial and trying to read off the cue cards. That's the kind of stuff that is bringing it back to the beginning that I would love to see come back. Instead of just Rocky being a meathead is how this connects.
He should still have some of those things that he seemingly got over in the previous films, like not being able to see people hitting from his left or whatever, right? Like he had a blind spot. Like they just like discarded that in 3 and 4. Like, you know, they could have brought any of that back.
And in Rocky Balboa, it's just like, oh, you got calcium deposits. That's the problem. It's like, no, didn't he have brain damage too? Like, what are we doing here?
I haven't seen that one.
They really hushed up the CTE now, so you can't talk about it.
Okay, so guys, let's start locking it in. Rob, you go first.
First, I don't know why you guys think it's so hard to go home again. I do it every single night.
The secret is I never leave.
It's true. There were some. I would say that Luke has brought this film up in my estimation as a movie I'd never seen before, but had such an awful reputation. And there are a couple of things I almost liked about it, but yeah, I think the bad acting from the son who didn't even want to be there. The total betrayal of any of the good themes this movie could have done to just, I think it's got to be some kind of studio meddling. Some producers just like, it's got to end with Rocky fighting someone, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense. And it's like, well, it has to. It kind of feels like that, and they just found a way to make it happen. So I've got to go guilty.
Ben?
I forgot to say, you bastards. I had one request when we did Rocky 4 is that I don't have to watch this, and here it is.
We always do what you don't want.
Yeah, so now I have to watch Rocky Balboa because I haven't seen that, but I'm such a completionist, and I'm just one away that now that's what I'm going to have to do tonight. Thank you.
It's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah, Rocky Balboa is sweet, man.
That said, I did hate it while I was watching it, but I do want to say to Luke the defense, he did bring it up. He made me like it more than I felt when I saw it that first time, because that street fight, I thought it was like sort of a gentleman's 4 until that street fight. Then it dropped down to a gentleman's 3. He might get this back up to a 4 for me. But yeah, no, they could have done things. It's so uneven. I don't think like anything has a good resolution, be it with Tommy or with his son. It just is all kind of there. So if they could have just stuck the landing, maybe they'd have something. So apologies to the defense. I like your spirit for liking this movie, but I'm not with you. This is guilty.
Yeah, hats off to Luke for actually trying to make some of this more palatable and succeeding in some areas. I'm glad that this provides you a connection with your father. I think that's a beautiful thing. And this is a gentleman's 2 for me. Like I cannot stand this movie in any way whatsoever, but I can't have this be unanimous when you put actual passion into your case and actually manage to convince people of certain things. So I'm going to go not guilty, but let's go tell that very handsome judge.
He is, isn't he? Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of the People versus Rocky V, we find the defendant guilty of being a bad movie.
Boo. Justice for the sex bot.
Fuck bot, please. Rob, fuck bot.
The verdict is so rendered, and since Tommy Gunn kind of sounds like a porno name, the main cast is sentenced to have them as well. Everyone shall call them Sly Vester Bone, Talia Desire, and Bert Hung from now on. Court is adjourned.
Oh, I don't want to think about Bert Hung.
Brutal stuff. Brutal stuff.
Cruel judge.
Tommy Gunn is absolutely a taken porn name. I almost guarantee it.
This is Mr. G, reporting to you live from outside the Reels of Justice. Luke Goozdich, your case was all right, but it wasn't goodish enough. Now, so what did you think about the jury's verdict?
Hey, that is bound to happen, I think, when you're defending Rocky 5. If the guy who wrote it, starred in it, and it's his baby, his franchise, can't stand it, you're in a tough spot. So I've been fighting this fight my whole life, and I'll continue to fight it. I think that it's a good movie. That can't be taken away. But it was a fun conversation, a lot of fair points thrown either way. I will say, give Tommy the Duke Morrison, give Tommy Gunn a little second viewing, because I think he's actually more of a interesting character than at least some of the backlog from Rocky, if you look at Mr. T. So I like it, but I think the verdict is fair. I get it. I totally get it.
I like you too, and you're a good guy, but I don't pity vote the fool. Now, Schlenzo D, why don't you get over here and tell us how you thought about the jury's verdict?
Well, Mr. G, we did it. It's nice to walk away with the win. I would have been very nervous with my career if I couldn't get Rocky V convicted. I mean, this was a bit of a fish in a barrel situation here, but
it was really close.
I know, and a win's a win. I need it, and I want to say to Luke, I was entertained by this movie. I am glad I watched it, but I do think we came down the right way. I think this is just, this is a bad movie that has entertaining parts in it. And if I were to do a Rocky marathon, I wouldn't skip it, but it's definitely the weakest, followed by Creed 3. Take that, Ryan. I'm out of here.
Creed 2, you son of a bitch.
Run away. Well, that's all the time we have from outside the Reels of Justice, so let's go back to the studio for post-trial analysis. I don't pity vote.
Thank you, Mr. G, who's white, by the way, right, Maynard? Mr.
Absolutely.
Very good.
As bleached bone, he is. So, interesting.
Good job, Luke.
Yeah, because if Jack Fastener is white, they all have to be white.
Exactly. I believe that is also true. As far as I know. But it was a good case. This one was kind of inevitable.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, I think there's some that slipped by, but this one's too much in the cracks. So, but interesting case. Now, Luke, what keeps you busy when you're not here defending Rocky V? What are you usually doing?
Well, I'm a counselor is like the day job situation, and then I also am a writer. I write different novels. Like my latest novel is Odyssey of Fire, and there is some boxing in it. It's a 1920s story of a young kid traveling from Montana to find his brother, and he's a boxer. So that's what I do is the counseling and the writing, and I have a YouTube channel called LS Author where I kind of talk about different things to help people's mindsets and motivation, different philosophies. So those are the three things that keep me busy in like a career aspect. But other than that, I have 2 kids and a wife, and I just trying to be a better father than Stallone or Rocky and Rocky 5. You know what I mean?
Low bar. Aim higher, Luke. Aim higher.
And also, you co-host the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast with former guest of the show, Nathaniel Hummel, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah, we do that every Wednesday. So you can catch me and Nathaniel there talking about all kinds of different action adventure stories and novels. And we run Veritas Entertainment together, where we have all kinds of books coming in. Like Men's Adventure Fiction May is this contest we run every year in May. This is our 2nd year doing it, and people send us stories of action adventure, high adventure, and we get to release one a week for the whole month, and it's a super fun competition and a great thing for the fans of the genre. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, former and future guest.
That's true.
And what I think is wonderful is that both you and Nathaniel are both cloned from Henry Cavill, which I think really fascinating. So
I'm flattered.
Don't worry. We have a great track record of very good-looking guests. We're doing fantastic.
No, we are, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Good thing we're an audio show.
Yeah. Well, but you can hear the handsomeness, Ben. I mean, why do you think people are saying it about the judge all the time?
I hear you. How handsome you sound.
Yeah, deafeningly handsome. Exactly. Secondary name for the show. Now, we always ask for recommendations from our guests for movies that you think people should see. So, Luke, what is a movie you think people should see?
Well, as a guy who likes Rocky V, I don't know if you want to take this suggestion or not, but I will say I think Bleed for This is another boxing movie that I adore. I love it a lot. I have this heart condition that I was born with, and it's always been a big part of like my personal struggles in life. And in this story, it's a true story of a boxer, Vinny Pazienza, who got in a car accident, head-on collision, and they said he was never going to walk again. And then he actually won the championship after that because he refused to, sit down and accept that fate. So I really have always resonated with it, and it's with Miles Teller, and I think it's really good. I think it's really fun.
We love our boy Miles.
Miles is good.
What was the name of
it? Bleed for This.
Bleed for This.
No, that sounds cool. I like that one.
Poor kid always has to bleed. He's bleeding in a whiplash, bleeding in a boxing.
He likes it. He enjoys it.
But Fantastic Four, he's stretchy, so.
Oh, that's a good point.
I thought, no, he's flamey.
No, he's
that's
stretchy.
Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm's the flame guy. He's
Mr.
Creed.
Fantastic.
Creed is the flame guy.
It's all connected.
Oh, that other Fantastic. You're right. Sorry. That other. I didn't see that one.
There are a few. Wait, no,
Yeah.
you said it was good when we were talking about Whiplash. Which one were you talking about?
I was talking about the new one with the baby.
Oh,
the
you're
good one with
crazy.
the baby. The baby's the good one with the baby.
Oh my god.
It's got that baby. I figured he would be in it. He's super hot right now, and he's okay. Anyway, you're right. I guess that is a different thing. I'm gonna kind of mash them together. Anyway, Schlenzo, just give me a recommendation.
Well, I am so surprised that I have not recommended this movie yet. I scoured the letterbox list of recommendations of justice that Big Ben Haslar keeps for us. Link in the show notes.
Curated.
And also, I've been trolling, or not trolling. What is it called? Lurking.
Trolling.
You would think I'd be trolling
right.
actually, but I don't. No, I don't post enough. But I've been lurking in Luke and Nathaniel's Men's Adventure Fiction Discord, and everyone there loves The Mummy. But do they love Stephen Sommers' better movie, Deep Rising from 1998? That's right. What if I told you this movie has Treat Williams and Famke Janssen battling sea monsters on a luxury casino cruise?
I would believe you.
And it's amazing. There's action, there's guts, and let me tell you something. There's really bad CGI, but goddamn, they did their best. And they make the wise decision of not showing the monster a lot. So most of the monster's actions happen practically like behind doors or underwater. So people get like pulled underwater, or the bulkheads cave in, things like that. But unfortunately, at the end, you do see the monster in all of its CGI glory, and it's pretty bad.
And it's on the poster, too.
Yeah, and thank God Treat Williams blows it up with a series of torpedoes on a really, really well-constructed model cruise ship. Ooh. Let me tell you something. That's not how ships blow up when they're hit by torpedoes, but it looks amazing. This is...
You know a lot about it.
I was going to say, this is...
Turning with Hegseth, are we?
I'm just saying. Don't date the show, Ben, please. Wherever I'm saying Deep Rising is probably... I can't say it's king of the hackers, but let me tell you something. It is truly special. It's this close to transcending hacker, except it knows exactly what it wants to be. And the fact that it owns it so thoroughly just adds to the enjoyment. This is one you could watch every month, every year. I don't care. This is one you can always put on. It has the distinction of one of the most watched movies in a day for me, having watched it 4 times when it originally came out in one day.
It's a solid flick.
Yeah, it's
solid flick.
Obviously, very personal to you in that you haven't recommended it in the past 5 years.
I thought I recommended it early, but I guess I never did.
So did I.
Yeah, right.
We put it on our suggestions list for us to do an episode on,
and we should.
Have.
If anyone
it sounds like
wants
2 of us are in favor, so if someone wants an easy win.
If someone wants to try to take it down, I'm here for you. But here's the thing: get this on YouTube for free. For now. Now who's dating the show,
Until
Ben?
Dylan said something.
On my upload. Big Ben, what have you got for us?
Continuing in my Walk-Emendations, a journey into Chinese cinema, we focus on another prize fighter like Rocky, though this one has a basis in reality. It's The Grandmaster, which is about Ip Man, known for teaching Bruce Lee. This one came slightly after the Donnie Yen film, and honestly, when I saw The Grandmaster was playing at my local Cineplex, I skipped it, because I had thought that maybe it was just an attempt at exploitation. It turns out this is a very different take, though both films really aren't that historically accurate, I believe. Instead of Master Ip fighting against Japanese armies during an occupation, something he never did, this film takes an approach more about him being reflective of an evolving China during his lifetime. But they introduce, and by introduce I mean made up, a female character played by Zhang Zi of Crouching Tiger fame, so it's inaccurate but in a different direction. Still, the fights are cool. If you like some of the style like the Wachowskis did in the 2 Matrix sequels, I think you'll see some similar ideas here. Though, as it turns out, it wasn't martial arts that defeats Master Ip, but the ebbs and flows of life when his money goes away in his 40s. The film has a truly excellent cinematography, not just the fights, but the environments as well, from grand pavilions, snowy fields, and steamy train stations. They do everything they can to make everything look interesting. So, if you want to see a different take on Ip Man, especially if it's been a while since you saw the Donnie Yen version, so you're not mentally making the comparison as you watch, give The Grandmaster a go.
No, just watch Ip Man again. Actually, I just watched it this weekend. It still holds up.
But don't watch 2.
And
two's good.
Two's ridiculous.
That's the movie that inspired us to give a bag of rice to anyone who wins on Reels of Justice.
No.
Dude, when he fights 10 men, that was awesome.
You know the price of rice now?
Actually, I do.
I can't afford that. Making it to 5 films in your franchise is without a doubt an unimpeachable mark of quality. I think we can all agree. Hell, even Jaws only made it to 4. And in that spirit, and because I just watched the 4th film in this franchise as a recent recommendation, I decided to look forward, not backwards, and barrel ahead into my recommendation this week, 2007's Highlander, The Source.
Oh
man.
Duncan MacLeod and his fellowship.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're wrong. I loved it. Duncan MacLeod and his fellowship of immortals must venture on a fetch quest for a magical MacGuffin protected by a powerful villain. Whoever wrote this must have watched Lord of the Rings and The Matrix kind of in the same weekend and just decided to sort of smash them together. It takes place in it takes place in a futuristic techno world, but there are still immortals. They have to get this powerful source, which is what they go after the quest for, but it is protected by this kind of cool villain. He's super fast and he's sort of generic, but he's got like a metal head. And he is kind of interestingly designed, but he's way more powerful than any of the immortals. And you have to see, how are the immortals going to be able to kill this super fun villain? This is the first Highlander movie that was not released in theaters. This was released directly on the Sci-Fi Channel in 2007.
Perfect.
I know, it's absolute hacker material that you're going to love. I think there's a little bit more swords than there should be or more guns than there should be swords. But I mean, kudos for them eventually realizing that shooting a guy makes it easier to then cut his head off. I understand how purists of this series probably hate this film for going so far afield. I get that, but I
hate that film for going so far afield.
You see, but out of context of that series, as a standalone, low-budget fantasy sci-fi horror hacker thing, I had a lot of fun. And I think it's sad that CGI has become so crappy that even the cheap practical effects of a made-for-TV movie from 2007 for the Sci-Fi Channel look a little impressive. I mean, their set had actual fire on it. I mean, I don't think even A24 can do actual fire anymore. So I don't know where you can watch this. Probably YouTube until someone takes it down too.
Give me 10 minutes.
Exactly. Ryan, send us on home.
My recommendation is an Indonesian action film from 2018, Timo Tjahjanto's blisteringly intense and unrelenting The Night Comes for Us. What is it about? Who's to say? I don't watch Go for Broke, brutal bone breakers for the nuanced story. You're there for the unparalleled choreography and gritty, blood-soaked violence. It reminded me of the Raid movies, 2 More Than One, and even shares a key cast member. Great action directors know pacing and staging and how to utilize their environment, and this is no exception. Timo is a maximalist, and y'all know how I feel about that. The Night Comes for Us is currently streaming on Netflix. A yuck.
That is
one of the... I didn't recommend that? I love that movie. Oh.
You don't recommend any of the movies you like.
That's true. But it does have Joe Taslim, who I think Ryan was talking about.
I assume, unless there are multiple castmates that they share. But that's got to be like one of the highest pieces of praise. Be like, did you like Raid? Then you'll like this. Same thing. Like, did you like Fury Road? Then you'll like this. Absolutely. Super cool. But with that, we are all out of show. But we want to thank our guest, Luke Goozdich, for joining us. Thank you so much, Luke.
Dude, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this. And I like those movie recommendations. I'm going to be checking those out.
Yeah,
except for Rob's. Don't do that one.
No, totally check mine out.
Especially Maynard's. Especially Maynard's.
It is got some cool makeup effects in it too. Honestly, I was like, this is not so bad. I've seen way worse.
Well, then you'll love the other ones.
Probably, but if they're not going to have like weird metal-headed guys who are super fast, I don't know.
Well, jump to The Quickening. It's your next best bet.
I did hear that was bad. I'm pretty excited for that. We'll let you know what we think of the rest of the Highlander series when you come back, Luke. And we hope everyone else will join us again as well as the Reels of Justice keep turning.
Count it.
Hey, hey, hey.
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.